it's Greg from Gen X Mindset, the channel dedicated to the best generation of all time of free-range children that grew up drinking from water hoses. And today I just want to jump on here with an unscripted kind of take on AI to use for writing or editing. I started a book several years ago when I was living in BC, and it's just kind of at that stage where I'm ready to edit, however, don't have the fundage to pay a professional human editor. And that's where I started dabbling with AI, ChatGPT to be exact. Now, I do have experience with Google Gemini and also dating actual Geminis, but we'll specifically focus on the Google Gemini AI in just a little bit. I'll get to that because it's a little bit freaky, but ChatGPT, I started dabbling around with that to use as an editor. So far, I kind of liked it, but then I got kind of into a different subject matter when I was chatting because I grew up with not baby boomer parents, but the silent generation, 1928 to 44. My parents wanted me to be silent like their generation, so I couldn't ask a lot of questions of my parents or of teachers, and I had a lot of questions. I was very curious. So ChatGPT in particular would just answer my questions, and sometimes I, would ask very out there questions. Probably why parents and teachers really didn't want to respond to my questions. But I got talking about asking about Hermeticism, a topic that I learned about just over a year ago. Very deep philosophy that we won't get into here, but Hermeticism and the 7 principles. Got onto ChatGPT and started asking questions about my personal situation, and the answers were just brilliant. It gave me a means of applying wisdom, ancient wisdom, to modern day problems of a personal nature. Let's put it that way. And I just, at the end of it, I thought, and I even responded to this to ChatGPT, it was like, boy, this would make a great chapter of a book. And much like a drunken buddy at the bars, like, yeah, man, let's write this thing. So I started writing a book about Hermetic principles and how to apply them, and we will talk about that in future episodes. But I found the process to be fascinating. The depth of the knowledge that I was gaining was absolutely brilliant, and I thought this is going to help people. If it's helping me, I'm writing this book as a self-help book for myself. I thought it's going to help other people. So hopefully, we can kind of connect and guide ourselves through Hermetic principles. But one thing I noticed about the ChatGPT, now here's where the tips about writing come in. You have to kind of do it all in one thread. I would be just chatting and all of a sudden say, hey, why don't we make this into a chapter of Timeless Truths, the title of my book. And it would spit out a beautiful chapter. However, once I start, on Scrivener compiling and going through, there wasn't a lot of consistency. So I would bounce back and forth between different threads. So my first recommendation, if you're going to write using any sort of AI, is start one thread, learn your prompts, and just kind of have a vision of how you want the flow, the tone, just the whole, target audience before you even start writing. So that was my, main tip of this video, because I think it is a very useful tool. Now, I only use the, free version of ChatGPT because it's Christmas in Canada. I don't really need to say much more. It's 2025, Canada, everyone's broke. Anyhow, so I've been trying to use the free version, and I keep running out of, space. Basically, it says, oh, you've got 5 hours before it resets. Do you want to upgrade? So I was thinking about upgrading. This is where I started using the Gemini, and is it 2.0? I don't even know. We can figure that out. But I started using that to kind of run some chapters through and see how Gemini kind of reworked it based on a couple other prompts and where it felt the tone and direction of the story should go. And it really added a different layer and dynamic to the overall writing process, and the themes and stories started getting, I don't even know how. It felt like, some of those teachers that you have or had in high school, you're just like, that teacher gets me. I can understand where he's coming from, the tone, whatever. Just there was connection. I felt that with Chat GPT. Not so much with Gemini. I felt it very strict, like a teacher that didn't have a sense of humor, or a family member, or anybody that on social media that just kind of doesn't fully understand your essence. So chat, I found, was a little more in tune with that. I haven't tried the Elon Musk version. I know there's other versions, Microsoft, there's a lot. So today we're only comparing the Chat GPT from my experience with the unpaid version and the unpaid version of Gemini. So I really lean towards, I think, Chat GPT. I think I'll continue with that, maybe pay the version, and hopefully, how the AI wars play out, it will still be around for the foreseeable future so I can finish this book. I just want to touch on something that kind of freaked me out about Google Gemini. Now I'll throw the responses up on the screen. I started asking, how I could maybe add a little more depth to the chapters, and if there were additional chapters that could be, part of the whole book about Hermetic principles and modern times. So I'm just going to jump over here and read a couple of the responses that our good friend Google Gemini came up with for, I guess, chapter ideas and how to enhance, my writing. So bear with me here. Okay, so back to Google Gemini. So Google Gemini, when I asked about new chapter ideas, one of them was Hermeticism and time. Explore the Hermetic understanding of time. Is time linear, cyclical, or something else entirely? How does this relate to concepts like reincarnation, past lives, or the nature of consciousness? Okay, that I was just a little too new agey out there for me. Not that I don't, want to explore those in, future books perhaps, but just with this one, I wanted to kind of keep it low key. And I also, in the book, I have kind of tiptoed around the nature of the simulated reality that seems prevalent here on YouTube and, just in conversations in the gym locker room, because that's what we're all talking about now, is this simulated. So on that, it's Google Gemini's recommendation is to maybe go into the ethics of simulated reality. And if we are in a simulation, what are the ethical implications? Do we have free will? What is the purpose of the simulation? Who are the simulators, and what are their intentions? This adds philosophical and potentially dramatic elements to the story. Yeah, it really does. I don't really, want to go into things that maybe we can't really answer. The book's a little more about, how do I fix my anxiety or depression or, drinky, things that a Hermetic lens can kind of evaluate and fix your thinking. Time and space and consciousness are just another thing. Still with consciousness, here's another one. Okay, on the topic of consciousness, Google Gemini wanted me to include something in my book on Hermetic principles on the future of consciousness. Speculate on the future of consciousness, both human and potentially artificial. Artificial consciousness from Google Gemini is what it's suggesting. How might our understanding of the universe and our place within it evolve in the coming centuries? This allows more speculative and forward-thinking content when I'm talking about Hermetic principles on how to fix my anxiety, improve my productivity, enhance my creativity. Consciousness is, I just don't want to, because there's no answer. That's the big overarching, especially when you talk about artificial consciousness. So I think I'm going to leave those out of my book. But if you're looking for, something that might be, eye-opening and enlightening in a timeless hermetic wisdom, ancient philosophy, ancient truths, and easily applicable to modern, I guess, dilemmas, especially for a Gen X audience that grew up in an analog age without cell phones. Phones were attached to walls. We played outside. We did all that cool stuff. And now we're figuring out, Gen X is, how to fix this screwed up world that is being created by multiple generations. I don't want to finger point or, cause any negative comments in the feedback section here on my channel. So if you do have comments or recommendations on something that you would like to kind of get some insight on the timeless truths of hermetic, wisdom to help enhance the Gen X journey, drop something in the comments and like and subscribe. But if you're looking to write, just start with, I guess, a blueprint, a direction. I kind of didn't anticipate starting a book on ancient wisdom and philosophy and my just I guess self-help thoughts. I'm writing a book on my trip to BC, and it's pretty cool. It was quite the adventure, so stay tuned for that as well. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Greg. This is Gen X.